Rolling here again. Had a very interesting conversation with another coach that I thought I'd tell you about that, about relationships and what people bring into them. And one of the big things that people expect to happen is that when they get into a new relationship, like they meet a new partner, they expect that the relationship or the partner will fix the void inside them about their own self-love. And if that is where you're at, I can tell you now, 100% accuracy, that will destroy the relationship. That will, if you are putting the expectation on somebody else to love you enough or the relationship to mean enough to you, so it fixes or fills that void inside of you where your own self-love should be, it's done. It's gone. Relationship is destined for failure because no amount of love from somebody else or no amount of status of a relationship is going to fill that void ever. And it's actually, very, very common these days that people will just jump from relationship to relationship to relationship and not look at, what they're not bringing themselves. It's very, very unfair. It's actually very selfish of people to expect somebody else to love them enough to fill their own void. And that's, it is quite common because people these days don't do the inner work. They don't do the self-awareness. They don't do the inquiry into, well, why don't I have the self-love? Why don't I have the self-worth? Why don't I have the self-acceptance? Why don't I feel good about myself? They then externalize and pull the pressure on the other person to love them enough that they will feel good. And then that, creates that expectation on the other person to be something. And that person can never really, get there in the end because you've always got these expectations externally that this person will do this thing to make you feel better about yourself. Now, one of the big things I tell people is that you can't expect somebody else to do for you what you won't do for yourself. And that's pretty blatant, right? That's sometimes hard for people to understand is that it's really unfair. It's completely selfish putting an expectation on somebody else to love you when you won't do it yourself. And if you're in that place where you've got, very much a low self-worth, low self-esteem, you won't do the self-assessment, the self-inquiry, all that kind of stuff, you have no capacity to love. You have nothing to give but trauma and expectations and demands and all that kind of stuff, right? So if you have no capacity to love yourself and you really don't know how to love in a relationship, you don't have much to bring to the table, you don't have much to give. And that's where a lot of relationships these days go wrong, is this that I need you to do this for me. I need you to do this for me. I need you to love me like this because I've had this happen to me in the past. And someone's done this to me in the past. And someone said this to me in the past, which made me feel this and this and this. It's all externalized. It's all out there in that world there that something's happened to me, made me feel like this. And it's, seriously is very, very unfair on the other person to expect them to live up to this, this world that you've got, that because there's not like a marker that says if you do this, 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 and this, I will feel this, right? It's what's going to happen is that you're going to keep changing the goalposts over and over, and might do something good here, but you'll change it again, and you'll change it again. And as I said before, you never really ever have the capacity to have true intimacy, true love, and true connection if you have none with yourself. The first part of a relationship and the first part of healing is to have that with yourself, and then to understand you and to connect with you and to be with you and to accept you and to love you. And then from that place, then you can love somebody else because you're an expression of love. And this is, you have no demand on anybody else. You have no requirements on anybody else. The relationship just expands of two people coming together that want to share their expression of love and their expression of who they are with the other person. And unfortunately, these days, it's the other way around. And people have this, because relationships are somewhat disposable these days because of all the dating apps. You can just go to the next one, the next one, the next one. And people don't do the inner work. People don't do the self-inquiry. This is what I've been helping people with and trying to get them to understand is that the greatest gift you can have in your relationship is to give one to yourself. because without that, you have no other relationship. And so, I invite people to go on that journey. If you're in this space right now, if you're in this place where you're having these relationships that is functional, to stop and to revisit you and to stop blaming other people. Stop putting the responsibility on somebody else. Stop saying, well, you haven't done this for me and you haven't done that for me. To come back to you and go, okay, well, where's my trauma? What am I bringing to the table? Where's my level of self-worth in all this kind of stuff? Where is, am I, not showing any expression of compassion or love for myself, which then, goes into the rest of the relationship? Am I bringing my trauma into the relationship? Have I not addressed that stuff? Because if you haven't addressed that, then again, you're bringing all your stuff in the relationship and you're expecting the relationship of the other person to sort of compensate in some way for that, what's happened to you. And rather than take responsibility and accountability for the life you have right now is the way life is, because it's the way you've created it. And from that place is there the full accountability, then you can start the place of healing. So, and this is why, the way I work, which I've sort of labeled these days is about unlearning. We have to unlearn what's in the way of us really knowing ourselves and creating that place where we can have true success, true abundance, true relationships, true intimacy, true passion, and a place which is fearless and free, because you have to unlearn the language and the stories inside your head before you can go anywhere. And I was saying this to the other coach. I was saying, it's like renovating your house, right? When you renovate your house, you got to pull all the old shit out. You got to pull all the furniture out, pull all the fittings out, pull the old kitchen out, and then you rebuild it. But what most people do these days is they leave all the shit in there and they try and put the new couch on top, the new kitchen on top, the paint on the old paint, and wonder why it doesn't work. Well, it's never going to work because you need to clean all the stuff out. You need to unlearn everything. And so my invitation to people these days is that if you're in a relationship that's not going so well, take a step back. To go, well, okay, why is it not working? Well, what's my role in this place? What is my role? What do I bring into this relationship that I have not addressed? What am I contributing to the relationship dysfunction? Because what I see a lot of people is blame. I see a lot of people blaming other people for the situation. They've done this, they're not doing this, they've done that, they've said that, they walked off, they didn't kiss me goodbye, all that kind of stuff. And that's based in our perception of reality, which is based on our language and our thoughts, which is then based on who we think we are. And a lot of the times that is actually an illusion or not correct or complete fallacy. It's not true, right? But we're dictating life happening that way. And that's why, going on the path of unlearning is a very powerful tool, because you don't necessarily solve problems. You're actually just revealing your true self by removing the story that's in the way of you being who you truly are. And we get attached to these limitations and roadblocks and places where we get stuck in this place of trying to be right about our own ego or our limitations, and we bring it in the relationship. So if some people are going through this right now, if you're going through a place where the relationship is not working, stop. Have a very honest conversation with yourself, like a very, very honest conversation with yourself. What is my capacity to love? What have I brought in? Am I putting expectations on somebody else or the relationship to fill a void inside of me that I am unwilling to do myself? But that's a very tough conversation. That's something that takes real brutal honesty. And when people who work with me, which is why I get such good results, is because the brutal honesty of the situation. There's no blame. It's just honesty. Am I not loving myself? Where am I not doing the work? Where am I putting the responsibility of my own void on somebody else to fix? And you'll find all the times it's actually true, is that we're putting an expectation on somebody else to fix us. Yeah, we're expecting them to love us. Yeah, we won't do it ourselves. So what's the point? If that is incredibly selfish. If you're expecting somebody else to do the work, but then you're not doing it yourself. Like, come on, guys, seriously? You can't have a relationship in that space. So So I would invite you to have this, self-inquiry, this place of self-awareness and self-realization about, where am I in this space? What am I bringing to the table? Like I said, and really step back from the conversations you're having in relationship and just going, I can't expect somebody else to love me if I won't do the work myself on loving myself. I need to do me first, and then I can bring whatever I want to bring into the relationship. And that's a very, very honest and sometimes tough conversation. And I would suggest that if you have that conversation with yourself, it can be rather brutal, but it's free. It absolutely, because it's an honesty thing, and that's where I come in next to go, right. I can help you do that. I can help you get to that space. I can help you. You do whatever you want to create. This peace, freedom, intimacy, love, all that kind of stuff. That's where the beauty lies. That's where the the real magic lies in that space. But it takes having the conversation about, you know, am I not doing the work, and am I expecting somebody else to do my work for me because I'm unwilling to? And that is a very, very, very honest conversation. So if you're in a space today, if you're having those problems, ask yourself this question: how much do I love myself? Am I trying to fill a void? Am I expecting somebody else to love me where I won't love myself? And if you answer those questions, which you already know is probably yes to a lot of them, and I'm also not doing this stuff, then it's a point of the go, right, I need to do me. I need to do what I expect myself to do. I need to do this to get this. I can't grab it from somebody else. But unfortunately, on the society these days, it's just this take expectations, jump to the relationship, try and, get that to fill the void. Doesn't work, never will work. So I invite you, have an honest conversation with yourself. Am I expecting somebody else to do the work that I'm not willing to do? I'll leave it at that. Okay, see you later.